Hello everybody and welcome to our show Ask the Professor. Today in the studio we have our guest Professor Brinson.
Thank you.
Hello Professor. Professor is an educator and author of several books, as well as a sharp entrepreneur with many years of experience in management, sales and marketing. He has traveled the globe several times and taught and lectured for many decades and at many levels of education. Professor works with iSeek organization. Check them out by going to their website, iseek.org. Again, that's i-seek.org. Today we are going to be discussing your proven approach, Professor. A city like Chicago can reduce its overall violence both in crime and behavior. You wrote an interesting article recently that says that violence can be reduced. How can we do that?
Very interesting topic, Peter. Different police organizations throughout America and throughout the world are constantly trying to reduce violence. Some have withdrawn from guns. Like in England, the policemen don't even carry guns. Australia, you have to go through a great deal of background checks in order to get a gun. But it's much simpler and easier if people understood that this universe, when I say the universe, I'm talking about the physical cosmos in which we live in, has created a principle which we call duality. Duality operates in sets of twos. Everything expresses itself in this cosmos in the form of twos. There are males, females, light, darkness, matter, antimatter, gravity, anti-gravity, and so on and so forth. Violence and non-violence also exist. And you can go deep into that, because if you go deeper, you will discover that the life forms exist in two categories too. Even though you got 8,400,000 species, they all can be subdivided into two classifications: violent species and non-violent species.
So violent species and non-violent species, what are the difference between those?
Okay, violent species are made because of this duality principle in the physical world. Violent species are made to kill. They made. It's natural in their system and in their biological system to kill. They get angry. They experience a lot of anxiety. They're under great stress. And this anxiety, this anger, motivates them when they get hungry to go kill something. But nature's given them the appropriate body to be killers. They're made where they have sharp, scissor-like teeth. They can run extremely fast and capture their prey, and they can eat it on the spot. They take their claws and hold the prey down, bite into their throats or into their flesh, and they eat it, bones, blood, and everything else, without vomiting. They're made to be killers. And if they kill a human being, you know, no judge will no lawyer will defend them in court, because they're made like that. Then you got the non-violent animals. The non-violent animals are made opposite of the violent animals. They have a calm nature. They're more peacefully oriented. They don't have that much stress, and they're more harmonious with the other creatures. They have flat teeth just like human beings. Their teeth are flat and not sharp and scissor-like. When they run and get exhausted, they sweat through the skin, while the violent animals sweat through the tongue. If we go back to the violent animals and look at their characteristics, they have sweat glands on the tongue. You got wolves, hyenas, dogs, tigers. They all hold their mouth up and sweat through the tongue. The non-violent animals, they sweat just like human beings, because we're a non-violent species too. We sweat just like they do through the skin. And when they eat, the non-violent animal eat, their mouth move in a circle. They chew their food and masticate their food very slowly, while the violent animal, their mouth only can go up and down, and they just gulp and swallow it whole almost. in slabs. So that's one of the primary difference. But the nonviolent animal, they eat a nonviolent food, while the violent animals eat violent food.
So now there's nonviolent animals and violent animals.
Yes.
And so in our world, violence is inevitable on some level. How do we become less violent, and how do we balance this?
Okay. Violence and nonviolence engage in a strange cosmic dance. And if violence expresses itself and becomes dominant, then you have more peace. I mean, if nonviolent expresses itself, you have more peace. But if the violent predominates, the peace is disturbed to some extent. This can happen with human beings too. If the human beings have these two energies functioning and flowing in the human body, the human being got an energy which is negative and an energy which is positive. And if the human being gets out of balance, he can become more expressing of the negative forces. When I said negative forces, let's take these forces and try to put them in terms of human terms. There's a feminine energy flowing in both male and female, and then there's a masculine energy. The female has an imbalance toward the feminine energy. That feminine energy makes her more compassionate, more kind, more loving. Therefore, it's easier for her to take care of children because of this feminine energy. It's predominant. But if she gets too much masculine energy, the masculine energy flows in her too. She can become more aggressive, and she can get so much masculine energy that she feels she's a male, even though she's in a female body. And you find a lot of people who have this imbalance at birth, and they feel they're in the wrong body. So many of them with this imbalance of energy in the body, they go and try to get transsexual operation. So it's a struggle that's going on in the human body between these two forces. But most human beings that take birth have a balance of the body in which they operate in. And this balance can get gradually out of balance if they eat improper food too. You can eat violent food and it slowly will make you more temperamental. Your mood swings will become greater, and you'll find yourself full of stress because you're picking up hormones, you're picking up anger from the violent food that you eat. And you can get to the point where you can get so violent that you have to go outside and get a brick or a stick or a bat and hurt somebody. Or you pick up a gun and shoot somebody. That's because of this energy, but you have to pick up something outside your body because it's hard for you to kill a human being up front with your hands. It's difficult. So we may take the shortcut of picking up some kind of instrument. The animals that are violent, they don't have to pick up an instrument. They carry the instrument with the vehicle or the body in which they operate in. The non-violent animal, they're more peaceful, more loving. But the violent animals always want to go, most of them want to go toward the non-violent animals when they eat. They eat violent food. They kill the food and they eat it. On the other hand, the non-violent animals, they have a tendency to eat non-violent food.
So wait, hold on a second. Violent food and non-violent food.
Okay.
What are the distinctions between these?
Violent food is normally meat-based food. You have to kill an animal. You have to kill something in order to eat the meat. A strong desire for meat-based food. The non-violent food doesn't try to run away from you when you pluck it from a tree or you pick it up in the grass. You can eat strawberries, tomatoes, anything that doesn't run away from you and grows from the ground is considered non-violent food. And non-violent food, nature has created for all of her non-violent species. So she takes care of both of them. But sometimes we grow up thinking we can go against the intelligence of the DNA Mother Nature has set up in all of her species. You have to use intelligence to understand what I'm saying, or your mother can mess you up like I got messed up when I was a child. I know you're laughing, but the majority of Americans are like this. Those of you who in the TV land, we got messed up as a child, and we develop a strange, abnormal taste for the consumption of meat. Chicken, beef, ham, fish, and we are unconscious that a revolution is taking place in America, even for food. But food can gradually affect your consciousness and can make you develop either a more sober nature, or more calm nature, or more peaceful nature, or a more violent and angry nature.
And food can have this effect on you.
Yes. Food can affect these different garments we wear. Like you see me sitting here. I have on this jacket here, I have on a shirt, and I have on a t-shirt underneath this shirt. I know that I'm inside these different garments. The physical body, when you eat food, is, you can consider that the external garment, the physical coat, the suit that you wear. The emotional garment would be the t-shirt or the white shirt that I'm wearing. The t-shirt can be the mental garment that you're wearing. So you have all of these three garments, but you tend to think this body is yourself. And the body is not you, you're inside of something. Look it out at the physical universe. So when you eat matter, material food, especially animal food, it can affect the physical body, and nature has not intended for you to do that. So over a period of time, you can find your organs getting weak, you can find yourself becoming more feeble in terms of strength, and you can develop all kinds of diseases and health problems if your immune system is not strong enough to fight it off. But if you eat plant-based food, which nature has designed for all humans and all non-violent species to eat, you can find yourself more harmonious, more peaceful, and the food that you eat, which is non-violent, also carries most of the herbal cocktails and corrective ingredients, medicinal ingredients, to keep the body healthy, full of energy, and to heal different parts of the body. There was a famous physician who lived over 2,000 years ago. His name was Hippocrates. He was a Greek physician. We recognize him now as the father of modern medicine. He had a phrase which has become very popular: let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. You don't have to go to the hospital too much if you follow that principle. Are you happy with that answer?
It's enlightening.
You have any other questions?
I'm curious more about how nonviolent food actually can affect our life in a way to make us less violent.
Okay. If you look at the characteristics and the behavior of nonviolent animals, you will never find a horse, a cow, or a sheep killing another animal. They'll defend themselves, and in the defense of their environment and of themselves, they won't, if they accidentally or in a fierce fight kill an animal, they don't go and eat it. They will go and eat the grass. No matter how delicious you cook barbecue or ham or any type of chicken or meat dish, the animal will go and smell it and go eat the grass. The violent animals will always eat the meat dish because it's made like that. And so by eating the meat dish, it developed the violent qualities, which is necessary. Violence is necessary in their body. Anger is necessary. It's an ingredient which makes them kill. So if we eat it, we also pick up some of these qualities from the food that we imbibe.
Well, let me ask you a question. Where do people fit in this? Can you give me an example
let me give an
of how
example.
this relates to
Okay.
our lives?
People fit into it because they are similar in the sense that they are nonviolent species. And they have been made by a higher force, the positive force, which has made them more nonviolent and more peaceful. So if they eat excessive meat-based food, they can gradually develop bad behavior. It can affect their attention. The attention is the most valuable thing in this body. Let me talk a little bit about attention, then I go into it. Because
Well, let me ask you this. You're saying human beings are nonviolent animals.
I say a nonviolent species. You can say animals.
okay.
Yes.
I mean, like, how can you prove such a statement?
Okay. Easy. I like to give you an example. For everybody that's in the television audience. You can use this example on anybody if you want to get evidence. If you want to get corroboration of what I'm saying,
Okay.
you conduct this experiment, which I'll conduct on Peter. He's the host here. Say, Peter, if you, in your automobile, and you highly relax, the sunshine is bright outside, it's on a beautiful sunny day, and you're riding down the road. Without thinking, Peter, without thinking, if an animal suddenly runs in front of your car, what is your first instinct?
I'm going to brake or swerve or
Why?
because I don't want to run an animal over and kill it.
But when the animal is beautifully wrapped up in lettuce on 4th of July with barbecue sauce or a chicken dish, you eat it, right? And your mother brought you up like this. When I normally conduct this experiment on people and they hear the second part, they laugh. Because a light bulb in their head, which is connected to the DNA syndrome, validates what I'm saying and gives them evidence that they made like this. You got other scientific information too. Look at your teeth. You don't have strong jaw muscles like the lions. Your jaws muscles are feeble and weak. You cannot even bite your way into an animal flesh. The blood, the hairs will make you choke. So you have to clean the animal up, cook it, and disguise it and put different kinds of dishes. But if you pluck a peach or an apple off of a tree, or if you get some vegetables, strawberries, or any type of vegetables, they are there for you to eat, and all of the medicine are there. Even the violent animals, when they get sick, they fast, they go drink certain water, and then they go eat certain herbs and plants, and they get their medicine that way. Because nature, when she made these plants, she created the best type of nutrition, second best type of nutrition available on earth. The plants are the only visible species that can eat the best type of nutrition available. Plants can eat sunlight and water. They can eat the sun directly. We as human beings, we can't eat the sun. We only can drink the water. But if we eat plants, we're picking up the second best source of nutrition available. And you got trees in California, the bristlecone trees, they live in excess of 5,000 years, and each year a ring comes on their inside of their system, and they're healthy, and you don't find too many fruits and animals dying, fruits dying from cancer. You know, the animals may die, but the animals are smart. Most of these animals will eat animals that eat plants. Make sense?
Sure. Well, there's a lot to take in, Professor. Why don't we take a break and we'll come back to this.
Okay, we'll take a break.
We are back with Professor Brinson. Now, in your article, you mentioned that there was 3 steps to achieving a more nonviolent society, and you mentioned 2 already. So what's the third?
Let me repeat the first one again. If you eat nonviolent food, it's an automatic process built into the food. The food has a calming effect on your consciousness, on all of the consciousness of nonviolent species. You become more relaxed, more sober, and less prone to engage in violence. The second step, if you're a human being, you start thinking without putting too much thought into it, where you develop a certain channel or a certain lane inside your thinking apparatus. And in that lane, you automatically have an attitude of nonviolence, okay? Which gives you a reaction to different experiences in life. And the last channel is the channel of using attention properly to cultivate this.
Now, when you say attention, what do you mean by attention?
Eat, think, and live. Create a lifestyle. It takes attention to create the lifestyle. If you cultivate the attention is the most valuable instrument in this body. Attention, as I'm using it, refers to the capacity of concentration of attention. Attention is a mechanism within consciousness which has the capacity to focus to give you a more intensified awareness of the experience taking place around you. Like you can be conscious of me, and your attention has a mobile quality. It can move inside of yourself, inside of the head. Something can happen, and your mind can be worried. Oh, I gotta hurry and get out of here. I gotta take care of my child. I gotta go to work tonight. You can get so involved in that as you're looking at me and won't even know what I'm saying. Your attention is shifted due to you concentrating on something else.
And food has an effect on this?
Yes. Food can make your attention get scattered and move all over the place. You've seen children when they go to school, they can't concentrate on their lesson because the teacher's trying to teach them how to take this attention and concentrate. What they get scattered, I'm bored, I don't want to read. And they don't know they have the capacity to enjoy reading. And so they get scattered with the improper use of attention. Attention can be used as a investigative apparatus. You can investigate things. It can be used as a validational instrument, a corroborative device. You can put attention on something and verify and corroborate that this is real. And attention has all of these features. So attention can also withdraw from the experience that's surrounding us and scattering us in the material world, and we can have strange experiences. Just like someone was saying to me not too long ago, that when I talked to them about the automobile driving phenomenon, their attention slipped a little bit inside the head, and they said, oh, yeah, I am nonviolent, because that pulsation on putting on brakes triggered that nonviolent instinct, which is in the DNA syndrome in the body. They start seeing from themselves with attention that that's evidence of what the professor's saying. Then I go deeper into the teeth, the way you sweat, and give them more scientific evidence. I can go deep into that. But the main thing which will convince them, which is self-evident, is the attention concentrate, and goes off like that. And the light bulb goes off.
Now, the part that's shocking to me is that food can have such a radical effect on our behavior.
Yes.
Now, there was a third step. We haven't gotten onto that yet, have we?
We are on the verge of that.
Okay.
If you want to get validation of behavior being affected, there's evidence. I don't know if you heard of, there's a special school in Wisconsin, not too far from Illinois, called Central Alternative High School.
I think I've read about that.
You read about that in the article. And in that particular high school, before they made a change in the eating program, the children were wild. They wouldn't listen to the teachers. Their attention was running all over the place. They were suffering from an inability to control their attention. They were hyperactive. They couldn't put their attention on the learning lesson. Many of them would go out in the schoolyard and bully other children. They were getting strange, negative, playful activity. And academic scores dropped. The IQ tests that they took were low. And many of them even got into drugs and committed suicide. But after that school system introduced throughout their entire eating program nonviolent food, plant-based food, they got some side benefits which they didn't know would happen. They not only did they get physical health, but the nervous system of the children got affected.
Yeah, they had less disciplinary problems. And
Yes.
stuff, yeah.
The bullying stopped. The grade and academic scores went up. Antisocial behavior got significantly reduced. And this shocked those teachers and the principal there. And so they still have this program going on today. But that was not the only program they had. There was other programs. Miss Lee, her name was Karen Stunt, professor at Lehigh University. She got interested in the subject matter herself, and she conducted studies throughout America in most of the school environments where they had switched over to a plant-based diet, and the same phenomenon, the same experience took place with the student body. And she wrote beautiful research in this area, which is available in that report you got from me. the effect of nonviolent food. What effect does it have on human attention? Now, when you get all of this evidence of the attention straightening its back up and not acting animalistic, the intelligent stuff that's built within the consciousness of the human being starts growing and sprouting. All of us have a genius built inside this body. We don't know it. When you look out into the physical universe, you see human beings who put strong, intensified attention on certain things. Take Einstein. Einstein was not that gifted in school. As a matter of fact, he considered himself dyslexic, according to his own definition. And he was interested in using his imagination. He was gifted with imaginative ability. He didn't like reading too much, but that gift of imagination allowed him to concentrate for long hours by himself without getting bored. His curiosity deepened, and he wanted to know how does the universe work. So he would look out in the sky, he would talk to himself and create different kinds of concentration of attention upon different experiments that he would conduct in the privacy of his own head. And when he reached a point of great concentration, he had an aha experience. And the aha gave him knowledge that time and space are related to each other. They're inseparable because of this duality principle. That time is unreal, he came to that conclusion. It's relative to the motion that's taking place. And he made a statement back in 1921, I believe, after he had been given his Nobel Prize in physics, that when he said to a group of reporters who had surrounded him that what we consider to be time is not real, the reporters were shocked because they had not studied this stuff. They were trying to grasp what he meant. Since he was a Nobel laureate.
It's hard to wrap your head around something like that.
Yes. He said the only way you can prove this is to move out in space at great speed. If you go out in space at great speed, the internal motion of all of the objects within the craft, the spacecraft that you're riding in, will slow down. Computers will slow down. Clocks would slow down if you got them aboard. Your heart rate will slow down. Your blood pressure will slow down. Your metabolism will slow down. And it'll be related to the speed in which you're moving. So if you can approximate the speed of light, everything will slow down, and you can go out in space for 10 years and come back and say, let me go home and see my family, and you'll see that the whole society may have undergone a change. You say, what happened? And they say, you in a different year. 150 years have gone by. You say, what? It couldn't be. Oh, where are my children? They all grew up and died. They're in the cemetery. You'll be shocked because you will have aged only maybe 10 years due to the slowing down of the metabolism. So when he made that discovery and said that to the scientists, they were looking for evidence. And at that time, he frantically created an aura in the American society where when they got these airplanes and they developed atomic clocks, they put an atomic clock on an airplane. Airplane can only go so fast in space, but they can move very fast. And they had the atomic clock on Earth, set at the same time, synchronized. And when the airplane, he predicted, and they predicted, mathematician predicted, according to his theory of relativity, the clock on the airplane would slow down, or the clock on the ground they would be relative to each other, but they would lose synchronicity. And he was accurate, but that created a big problem in physics and in the thinking. So as time went on, he also told them, when he made the discovery of energy and matter are basically the same. And he said to the scientists that if you take a teaspoon of matter and can get the energy out of it, it's enough energy in that teaspoon that can blow up Chicago. So nature has set up this knowledge deep inside the invisible world which you don't have contact with. She did that in order to protect us. But the Einstein, when he was in Germany and Hitler ran them out because they were trying to mess up the Jews. Hitler was a Jew. So he escaped, came to America, And he told President Roosevelt at that time, he wrote a letter because the war was going on. And the German scientists were working on trying to come up with an atomic bomb. So he gave them the theory and the ideal, and they eventually came up with the atomic bomb and was able to release the energy in the atom, and they dropped it on Japan. And they dropped a couple of bombs, and they ended the war because there's so much power in the so-called invisible world. You have an invisible part of yourself that you don't know about. That part is extremely intelligent, extremely knowledgeable. But we don't know how to use the attention to go just a little bit inside. We don't know how to go inside this body. Only two things would make you go inside this body. The last time I spoke here, I spoke of the two forces that can make you go inside this body. One is somebody shoot you, you die, and your attention leaves this body and go inside. And you look at your body, it's on the ground bleeding, and you can follow the ambulance of your body to the hospital. People can't see you. You in that invisible dimension. You're in another body that they can't see. I don't know if you've seen the movie Ghosts with Whoopi Goldberg, Patrick Swayze, and Demi Moore.
Sure. Sometime back I saw it.
Yes. That movie is 95% accurate. When people watch it, they think it's a fairy tale. But it's based on scientific research of people who have actually died and were revived and resuscitated. Most people who die, they don't come back. The doctors can frantically work on them, and if the doctor is successful and they witness all of this event taking place in the environment of the hospital, some people go on top of the roof, they go through the wall, like Patrick Swayze in that movie could go through matter, right? Mm-hmm. If you go through the wall and see something on the roof of the hospital and you witness it, there was one person who saw a gym shoe tied to an air conditioner. And he described it. He said it's an all-star gym shoe, red, white, and when he came back and was revived, and the doctors and the nurses asked him, how did you know there was a shoe up there? You're not able to go up there. We got high security. He said, well, you send somebody up there and you'll see what I'm saying is the truth. Now that's verification once they go up there and see. They can't say this is an imaginary experience because the person knows that what his experience is real. He hears conversation taking place in the hospital room. He goes down to the receptionist room. The lady in the receptionist room is on the phone talking to her boyfriend. And she's married, and she's saying, well, honey, my husband's going to catch us. He's going to pick me up tonight, so you can't come and take me to the club. And he hears the telephone conversation because his hearing suddenly improves. The senses that we have on this body, they all increase by many folds. You don't have to put your ear to the phone. You can hear better. You can see better. You can smell better. These senses that we carry on this body are being restricted and reduced by this thick covering, that we wear. And when we get out, we get into a thinner covering, which has better vision, better seeing. And so when she heard the conversation, or this person who was in that death state got revived, the person went down and talked as he was going out of the hospital and said to the receptionist, I hope you don't get in trouble with your husband. I know you're going out tonight. She said, how did you know? Were you listening on the phone? He said, no, I just got out of the emergency room. I had just died and I heard everything. That shocked the lady because she knew the phone was not tapped.
Now this is all very mind-blowing and deep.
Yes.
I want to circle back to this third step.
Okay. This third step is taking the attention, which is the most valuable asset in this body, and using it properly to create a lifestyle of nonviolence for yourself. The attention can create this nonviolent lifestyle, so you be in perfect balance and perfect alignment. Food is the elementary stage, which create a nonviolent harmony in the body. And the second stage is to think. The food has an effect on the thinking process too. And then as you think and you take the attention and you create a lifestyle, you live in harmony with nature. People are doing that today. They say, let's protect the earth, let's not hurt the animals, let's live in harmony with the earth. This green movement, which is becoming infectious, contagious throughout the world. Most of the people who participate and protest in the streets to try to create this consciousness, they don't realize that they're a nonviolent species. And they need to greenify their own bodies first. Why are you talking about greening the environment? You haven't greened your body. Eat green-based food. And your body will automatically become green and harmonious with everything, other forms of life, and you get start thinking and harmonizing.
Now, touching on these social subjects,
Okay.
I know you're not a politician,
Yes.
but we do have an election coming up. So if you were the president,
Okay.
what could you do and what would you recommend to make society less violent?
If I were the president, I would come up with a budgetary plan, and it'll be a gradual plan because it won't work right away. But I would start with the daycare students, the elementary school students, and the high school students simultaneously. And the daycare students, if they learn to eat plant-based food and enjoy it, because they got meat substitute that look like fish, taste like hamburger, taste like different kinds of dishes that are made from animals, but they're all plant-based. And if the children come into the school system from their parental environment and get messed up like I got messed up at an early age, and they start eating plant-based food, and the school system feeds them this way, they will calm down, they'll be more concentrated, and as they grow into higher grades and discover that they are a nonviolent species, they can continue along this path. And they automatically will develop this nonviolent instinct. And the high school students will develop it too. Depends on how quickly their attention can grasp this type of knowledge. Most of the great individuals in society, Einstein, Edison, Plato, Aristotle, Da Vinci, Rodin, Shakespeare, I can go on and on. They ate non-violent food. They were plant-based eaters. And they could concentrate their attention, and they created a strange type of lifestyle. If you could create this plant-based sobriety from eating, your curiosity, which you're asking question now, from your curiosity, that can develop, and you can get more knowledge and more corroboration of what I'm saying. It'll come to you automatically because you have the same ability that Thomas Edison had. Thomas Edison ate plant-based food too. He dropped out of school in 3rd grade, but he was fascinated with electricity and light. And as he grew up and he started pursuing this scientific knowledge on his own, and he conducted over 10,000 experiments out of great frustration trying to come up with this merger of electricity combined with light and creating a light bulb. And he was successful to some extent. But his experiment failed after a few seconds or a few minutes because the light bulb would not stay on too long. And finally he had the aha experience because he stayed with it. He didn't give up. And by concentrating like a monomaniac, like a maniac, okay? His attention was riveted on this. And he slipped a little bit inside of him, just a little bit. And he saw, aha, let me take the air out of the tube, and the light stayed on for long periods of time. And with his discovery, he came up with light bulbs and all other kind of gadgets, which we rely upon today. The lights that you see in the studio are based upon a discovery that he made. But you have the same ability. It's hard for human beings to accept that. Just by eating plant-based food, you will begin to arrive, since you are the highest species, the best species that the universe has created. She has created you to develop this curiosity so you can admire her. Nature got so many secrets. The dogs, the insects, the birds, they cannot unravel these secrets. You only have a strange unraveling instrument, and you can admire her. Oh, look at what she's done. Why, she's made me so great. I need to go deep inside and discover that I have this knowledge, that I have this awareness, that I can get in touch with my real self, which is hidden in this body. The real self is buried inside this body. And as this awareness develops, you become more curious, and curiosity can kill the cat, so to speak. The cat is outside of this body, okay? And your refined self, your more perfect self, can sprout and take birth from that killing.
This is all very fascinating and informative, so I'd like to thank you. And I want to make sure that that our viewers can find out where to get more information about the things you're talking about. So I wanted to give the website out for the non-for-profit you work with again.
Why don't you, since we on the television, why don't you flash those 2 brochures I gave you, and they probably, as you end and conclude this
And people
discussion.
can get these by going to the website.
They can get them by going to the website or contacting us at our office. We normally give them out if they come to the office. And if they want to get free counseling and get a chance to taste some of this nonviolent food, because I'm also working for a company that produces nonviolent food, and we can provide the samples free, because we want them to discover that since they are accustomed to eating meat, that this addiction that they develop, primarily from improper upbringing and improper education, and going to the different restaurants that don't feed them too much of this type of food. The society is changing. Like I said earlier, Kentucky Fried Chicken are coming up with a meat substitute. Burger King already has the Impossible Burger. You got Dunkin' Donut, they have like a sausage. So a lot of these companies are coming up with these products, and these products are developed for meat eaters, not necessarily for vegetarian and nonviolent eaters. But nonviolent eaters can eat them too, and nothing, because it's a plant-based.
So now your office is in downtown Chicago.
Yes, 1016 West Jackson.
Okay, I'm going to show these. This one is Let Food Be Your Medicine and Medicine Be Your Food. You can get this there.
Yes.
And nonviolent food and its effect on human attention.
That's a very important one, because all of the studies are there, including studies that were made in prison. There were several studies made in Germany, in France, overseas, as well as in America. And these food studies, I'll just give you maybe 2 examples, then I'll stop. In Alabama, they had a study where the warden asked that some of the prisoners could volunteer and get in a program where they could eat plant-based food. And in order to get rid of this stereotype in the mind that plant-based food doesn't taste good, he also talked to the chef and said, you got to make the food extremely delicious. And so the people who volunteered for the program, they would get extra good time when they went to the halfway house. They would get extra privileges of being in the yard and do a less restrictive type of time.
Did it affect their behavior?
Yes, but they didn't know they were engaging in this. And so the incident reports that they would pick up on a monthly basis from the officers that would go around and deal with the prisoners who engaged in fight, they discovered that the ones who ate plant-based food were less prone to antisocial behavior. They were more harmonious and less violent and had less incident report. This happened in the state of Alabama. That's in there. It's also happened in California. The warden of that prison fed all of the inmates who volunteered for this program vegan food.
So the effect,
same results.
So the effect of this eating vegan food is it physiological or philosophy, or is it both? I
It's
mean,
all 3. It
yeah.
affects the physical body, the emotional body, and the mental body. It affects all 3. And when the mental body get affected, your attention get affected. Okay? But the food can affect, it's like saying, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? They come and affect each other almost simultaneously. You can't tell unless you conduct an experiment with yourself.
It's very fascinating. If you want to find out more, you can find more information at iseek.org. That's i-seek.org.